Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
A technical problem at the Red Bull Ring has left Nick McLaughlin with slim chances in the final 3 rounds. A 27-point gap to Liberante looks incredibly difficult to overcome. Likewise, Demmer's poor result in Austria puts him pretty far out of reach. But Long Beach is often a wild card and can catch even the best drivers out. Let's see if it bites any of our contenders as we get ready to watch round 8 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Long Beach is quickly approaching in real life, so to get everyone up to speed, let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. Well, Sam, it's the longest running street course race here in the United States, but how is it going to be with modern GT machinery around here?
Well, we'll find out very shortly, Joe, because my initial response would be probably not too clean, but we had a couple of races from these guys last night, and they put on great shows both times, so hopefully we'll see another one here where they keep it clean. But if we do have a clean and green race on the street circuit, they are going to have to navigate their way through a few tricky turns, including the tight 90-degree left-hand turn 1 at the end of a front straight, and then the fountain turn just a couple of moments later, which is single file. That doesn't mean cars always go through their single file, though, and things can get interesting when they don't. Things are rather normal-ish for a street circuit after the fountain. It kind of gives you a little bit of a chance to relax, although you never can get too complacent because there's always walls around. But then you get to the end of lap where there's a tricky hairpin, which can be a danger zone even on the pace lap.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've experienced that myself in some embarrassing ways. Now, before we get to the racing, let's mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Yeah, and tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And this event is also brought to you by SimMSA, that stands for Simulation Motorsports Affinity, which provides many consulting services from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at simsa.net.
And finally, the PRL GT3 AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. The performance of our leader in the points, Race Liberante, has been good lately with another win, his third, tying him up with McLaughlin. But Nick is down third in the points right now. In fact, falls behind Demers, who didn't have the greatest of races either. For some reason, just didn't seem to have pace in Austria. Trepanier and Allman are rather far back at this point, unless the three in front of them have horribly bad rounds in the remaining three. It's not likely we'll see them become in contention, but we have a teams championship as well. Sam, why don't you run us through that?
Yeah, as we get close towards the end of a championship here, the teams championship will definitely be heating up. And we'll get those graphics up here for you. There you go. 96 points separating RF, Delta Sport, NTR, Motorsport up there together at the top of the standings. Apex Button Box is the one down there in second place, only a few points ahead of SDS Racing Team. Parabola Racing Cobalt is down there, fourth in the points, and Car Ramrod have a little ways to go to get back up there kind of in the fight. So things are starting to spread out a little bit in this team championship in the closing rounds, but still quite exciting at the top. You never know what can happen, particularly when we come to a street circuit such as Long Beach.
Yeah, it could certainly throw things out of whack, but the good news is that it is consistent with the rest of the rounds that they've run because it's only 40 minutes long. And it has the same cars they've been running all season. It is an open setup series. I hope they've managed to smooth the bumps over and get a little bit of speed around the lap here. However, if they somehow manage to get 13 incidents and the car is still running in a straight line, I'll be quite amazed. If they do that, though, unfortunately, they're going to have to get a drive-through penalty 17, and they'll find themselves disqualified immediately from the race. Now, the bonus point for pole is currently being decided, and Race Liberante holds that provisional spot. I think we're waiting on a few of our quick runners to put one down. Looks like I think we do not have one yet from our third. No, we do. It looks like McLaughlin did manage to get one on the board, but he's about 3/10 behind.
Yeah, our top drivers from practice have already laid a lap down. Our fastest driver in practice yet to complete a lap is Rodrigo Morales, and as I say that, he crosses the line and puts his Mercedes up into 10th position. And Nick McLaughlin getting way too much of a left-hand side curb there, I think, entering the hairpin. I don't think that's going to be beneficial to his time in that Ferrari. But let's see if he proves me wrong as he comes across the line. No, maybe he did, because 1:18.9 is a solid time, but still only good enough for fourth so far. There's the guy he's trying to beat, Vincent Trepanier, in third place.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of a gap from first to everybody else back down there, as Liberante has almost 4/10 over Antonino right now, who is currently on the outside of that front row. This is Bochelle. Coming across the line. Unfortunately, he'll have that lap deleted as he must have scraped the wall or something around there. Baron Hilton, in the meantime, similar situation as that McLaren is going to have to cycle back around once again. Now, how critical, Sam, do you think the track position here in qualifying is going to be? Do you think drivers really need to try to get themselves up the order? Because you got to watch last night's race. You were on the call for that. Did it seem like it was pretty tough to pass?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be tough to pass at a street circuit. One reason I never want to start towards the back here is because the track is so narrow, particularly at areas like this, such as the hairpin where we see Vincent going through right now. If there is a collision in the middle of a field, even if you're not part of a wreck, you know, if you're behind it, you're going to get held up by it, sometimes pretty substantially. And so qualifying well is always a nice way to try and keep ahead of that. But what was interesting about last night's race here, with the pro drivers racing the GT3s around this circuit, is we saw a couple of them able to make it to the end without stopping. So if for whatever reason you don't line up where you want to, maybe we'll see some drivers in the middle of a field or towards the back who realize, oh, we can't really pass cars to make positions here. Maybe they'll go into conservation mode straight away and see if they can make it to the end without pitting.
Yeah, it's a strategy that could work out, as I think Trepanier managed to go up to second there, now ahead of Antonino. Gets bumped down to third. This is Nick McLaughlin, and that lap unfortunately not going to count for him. Cervantes is going to be next as the number 25 takes it down to the timing line. He's got a 19.2 on the board. This one will be a 19.1, so a little bit faster, but once again, the gaps are looking quite large between many of the drivers, and unfortunately, it will not take them up positions.
Yeah, and 4 drivers yet to turn a lap, and I don't see any of them on the track, so I'm guessing they're opting to start from the rear of the field and just get a clean race in, as Ning comes across the line and remains 6th fastest.
Yeah, Galen, Accord, Muirhead, and Aubrey are the 4 we don't see on track right now yet to set a time. Demers second in the championship, and unfortunately only 9th right now. Once again, just can't seem to get the pace like he did at the Red Bull Ring with a 19.5. It's about 5 1/1000ths off of Desjardins in that 8th position, so only needs minor improvements to at least go up one spot. What about Glover here? Looks like a 19.7 will at least get him into 10th.
Yeah, well, you know, there's always different horses for different courses. Some drivers prefer some tracks over one another. Me personally, I know I don't get on well at Imola and at Zandvoort. Whenever those circuits come up on iRacing, I always know my results here are going to be a little bit worse than what they normally are. And that is the case, especially with street circuits. It requires a different skill set in a way than the road courses do. You do tend to see drivers who are, you know, sometimes midfield drivers perform well at street circuits and vice versa. And I wonder if that's a little bit what we're seeing out of Demers here. I wonder if he's just not a fan of this kind of racing, because, yeah, down there, 9th on the grid right now, not exactly where he wants to be. Although, let's see if he improves. Nope.
No, Demers did improve, actually. Alexis up to 8th, and that's what he needed. I said it was small margins, so he does get that spot over Desjardins. And McLaughlin, not going to set a time once again. He'll get one last shot at it as he crossed with less than a minute 17 on the board here. Baron Glover went a little bit faster, but stays in that 10th position. It is a relatively hot day here in California, so I wonder if that's playing a part of it. I saw very few drivers managing to improve on that last lap. 106 Fahrenheit currently, with no wind to move the air around, so virtual fans in the stands are probably steaming up a bit.
Yeah, that always confuses me a bit at racetracks with no wind, especially one so close to the coast. Because they normally put racetracks right in the middle of a giant field or something, so there's always like a 20-mile-an-hour wind coming across it. I guess all the buildings are breaking out of that. But that'll be nice for the drivers, knowing they can hit their braking zones. There's not going to be any gusts that are going to blow them out of the way. They just got to worry about 20 other cars maybe trying to knock them out of the way.
Demers certainly wants to knock a few people down some spots, but he's not going to this time as he doesn't improve. Alexander does, and he'll go into 16th. Antonino does not see that one count. McLaughlin abandons his last lap. Checkered flag comes out, and Baron Glover will be our first to complete his qualifying. The 93 looking to do better than 11th. And unfortunately, that lap won't count for him. Chet Miller up next to 20.1 is his quickest, and that'll actually bump him up to 13th, a gain of 4 spots. Anadakis, can he do likewise? No.
Here's Cervantes coming towards the line right now in 5th place. He would need to gain a couple of tenths to move up any positions, and he does. That's going to bump him up to 3rd place. Nice job there from Danny.
Todd Lewis abandons his final lap. Desjardins is next, and he sits in 9th place with a 19.5. His very first lap was his best one. Hasn't been able to go quicker, and this one's not going to do it. In fact, almost exactly the same time as his previous lap, just a few thousandths off. Chet Miller looks to be a bit slow. In fact, yeah, he's finished his qualifying. He's already came across the line, which means that our qualifying is done, and our grid is now set here for round 8 of the Precision Racing League GT3 AM Series. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys handle it, considering it's usually tough for even the pros, and it certainly takes no prisoners. It is not a track that takes lightly to mistakes.
No, definitely not. Now, what we're probably going to see on the pace lap is the field go single file through the hairpin. That's what they did in the Pro Series last night. These drivers, I mean, it's a league, so they're all, they might not always be the best of friends or whatever, but they should all have open communication with each other. And I'm sure the league admins are making the note to get through that hairpin single file and probably allow at least the front half of the field to get double file on the front straight before the pole sitter hits the loud pedal and we go green and race towards the first corner, which is about to happen, Joe.
Yes, indeed, and Liberante is going to lead them to that on the pole position. It'll be Trepanier who starts in 2nd with Cervantes, a great qualifying in 3rd. Antonino, P4 for him, will be followed by McLaughlin in 5th. You've got Kwoknin, P6, Zanadakis in 7th, and Demers on the outside of row 4 in P8. Desjardins starts 9th with Morales qualifying in 10th.
Starting in 11th position will be Baron Glover, Todd Lewis, Therese outside. Even these drivers only about a second back of pole. Trent Miller will be starting from 13th alongside Baron Hilton. Guilherme Huard will be starting from 15th place ahead of Charles Sumner. Neil Alexander starts 17th alongside Charles Bushell, the last driver to set a lap in qualifying. Mark Kalin, Brett Accord, Parker Moylehead and Matthew Aubrey will be starting from the back of the field.
And we have two onboards here today. First, I believe, is the 62 of Nick McLaughlin, who is going to be starting from the 5th position. He's going to try and see if he can make up some of those lost points from the last round and come back. There you see his onboard for us. And then the other one that we've got is Kwok Nin, who actually starts right to his outside. So our two onboard cameras right together in a very appropriate background that Nin's giving us today. A very tropical scene inside the cockpit of that car as the pace car starts off, and it's a very short pace lap around here. They start just before Firestone Corner, turn 9. At the end of the backstretch, and already you can see them starting to get single file here. So as they come out of the hairpin, they're going to have to get lined right back up very quickly, but Liberante has to wait for the green flag. So they've got some time, but some of the rest of them you can see probably will still be taking their time to get ready. And the green flag is out. Liberante is off with a very good start. Trepanier actually a little slow there, and I think he's going to be overtaken potentially by Cervantes, but now he starts to fall back. John Antonino lifts a little as he doesn't want to try and do anything risky down into the first corner. Braking hard, Cervantes gives it up. A little bit of side-by-side behind them. Zanadakis getting ahead of Demers, but otherwise down into the fountain section, it's looking good so far.
Yeah, about 12th on back is where we still see some double file racing. I've seen a lot of bumping going on towards the back, but no cars in the wall. It's all just friendly little dins and dents going on right now. But up front, things are really starting to open up.
Yeah, we're seeing a 1 second difference between Liberante and Trepanier. And looks like even Trepannier's got about a 1 second gap back to Cervantes, who's under quite a bit of pressure with Antonino all over that rear wing, and McLaughlin, who has got to be hungry to try and gain some spots here. He wants to outscore Liberante. That is his main goal. Down to the inside of the backstretch. Cervantes under attack by Antonino. He's going to have to finish it up into the hairpin, which is tough to go side by side, but they're going to try it.
Yeah, Antonino went side by side through the hairpin on the pace lap, which I thought they weren't going to do, but obviously he was just kind of trying it out for the race, I suppose, because here he goes. They got through it, and now, though, they're coming down to turn 1, and things can... This is a good passing zone, but it's also a place where things can go wrong.
McLaughlin attacking around the outside, and oh, a critical error. He's going to have to take to the escape road, and practically the entire field is going to go by McLaughlin as you see him frantically on the radio talking to his crew. Oh, a nightmare start for him.
Yeah, he probably still could have made the turn, and I think he was aware he could have made the turn, but he just realized there was a chance of getting in the way of faster traffic and triggering a big incident. So I think it was kind of a nice move on his behalf to not go on the track and prevent things from getting any uglier. But shame for McLaughlin there. It's a short race. Doesn't really have a heck of a lot of time to make his way back up through the field. But maybe this is where he switches to trying to do the race on no stops if he wants to opt for that strategy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You can see our leaders already heading around the hairpin. Got another driver in the runoff, and you can almost make out Baron Hilton, who's somehow found his way a little too close to the camera. This happens at the end of the backstretch once again.
Yeah, it's easy to overshoot your braking point into this corner. Some drivers have different braking points than others. I can tell you mine is quite early into that turn when I race. I've been run over a few times. Fortunately, he didn't have anyone directly in front of him there. He was looking at his F3, obviously, looking at his relative, making sure the track was clear before he backed back out there. So 2 drivers overshooting corners this lap and dropping back down the order a bit. Everyone's still clean, though. Really, the driver with the biggest damage is Charles Sumner. The front of his Tropicana number 98 machine is carrying a massive dent in it.
In fact, he just brushed the wall again. No, that was Kalen, actually. Oh, and we got a car off. That is Guillaume Huard, who seems to have gone deep into turn 6, but he doesn't hit the wall. He'll fall down a spot. Tell you what, Neil Alexander's been having a heck of a start. He's up 4 positions from where he began.
Yeah, well, there you know, he's definitely not saving fuel. And honestly, there haven't been a lot of drivers who have really been dropping down the order. So I think all of these drivers are going for it. Our race leader is definitely going for it with lap times like that.
Well, don't tell Nick McLaughlin nobody's dropped down the order. I think he'd like to have a word with you. As we go to Kwok Nin, he is up 1 spot from the start, but he might lose that because Nico is just behind him and putting on quite a bit of pressure.
Yes, here we go into the center part of the circuit. Aren't a lot of great passing opportunities, obviously. You can make something happen down here into the run in the left-hander, where there's normally country music blasting out of a PA speaker on the left-hand side here on iRacing, because country music goes well with California, apparently. You also, as we ride on board here, you'll notice the drivers cut this curb on the left. You can't cut it too much, because if you do that, it kind of has a tendency to kick you out towards the wall. But if you get it just right, you can save a couple of tenths of a second by going over that curb and not necessarily sticking to the racetrack.
Sam has not been to the rural parts of California, I suppose, as we watch on board weaving into the hairpin out of the parking lot. You can see how slow they have to go and how much he has to crank on the wheel just to get it around there. If we jump back behind them, Todd Lewis, Glover, and Morales have all been very tight together in a battle for 9th.
Yeah, we got that on screen here. You may notice on time and scoring, Mark Caitlin has gone a lap down. I saw him limping around the track with a bit of damage last lap. So he's had an incident, unfortunately. Looks to have put him in the pits for a while. These guys continue to follow each other nose to tail as they go into the fountain.
And just as we jumped away from Nin, Zanadakis dove to his inside into the first corner, but Kwok simply pulled the over-under on him and took the spot right back. But that slowed them up a ton, and now Alexis Demers is getting involved in things.
Riding on board Demers again, so this is where we were on board last lap as well. You get the nice little run down the back straight. So I was talking about this braking zone. We saw a car overshoot it a little while ago. You do have these signs on the left-hand side that kind of help you out, but sometimes it's just easy to ignore them, I suppose. Want to keep it tight through this little carousel area here. You definitely want to be on the left-hand side to make it through the hairpin. And sometimes you have to take at least one of your hands off the steering wheel to make it through that hairpin. It's depending on your car and setup, it can be quite tricky.
No doubt about that. As we watch from Demers' perspective up towards Zanadakis, they're now losing him since they've stopped fighting for about a lap, up to about a second. Back to this BMW, down into the fountains section. Not really much place to pass here unless you're right on top of that car in front, so they are going to stay
into the wall.
File.
Into the wall in turn 1 from 11th place. He was being pressured from behind. Just came into the first corner too hot and ended up in the wall there. He's trying to do a 5-7 point turn to get back going again without backing into the line of traffic. Unfortunately, no further incident.
Yeah, Alexander was all over him, just got him to make a mistake. This is actually a really good job from Alexander to not run into him. A lesser driver. Oof, yeah, he gave him plenty of space. Lesser driver would have just plowed into the back of that Mercedes.
right on board Neil Alexander. I wouldn't be surprised if he could see it happening. He sees not only as the car in front of him apexing too early, but he's carrying way too much speed, and I have a feeling that Neil kind of saw the writing on the wall and then saw a car on the wall.
That car left the writing on the wall in body parts, unfortunately. So Alexander now runs in 11th, having picked that one up. We're going to look at Bucknin and Nico Zenadakis once again. And boy, Nico's getting close now. He's starting to get a little bit anxious, it seems, hoping that he can make a move.
Speaking of making moves, Nick McLaughlin has caught the back of the pack after making his error at turn 1 earlier on, and he's just gotten by Brett Accord, so up into 14th place.
Slowly picking him off. It's going to be a long day, and unfortunately not looking like it will be a great result for him in the end. But as much as they keep getting close to one another, the 239, the 07, don't seem to be close enough for a pass to stick, unless Nico can get a mistake here out of the 239 down through the parking lot once again, and then breaking into the hairpin. Got to try and get that power down as soon as possible. Look at how much he stretches away. Doesn't look likely this time.
Yeah, the picture behind him on his little picture-in-picture, there's a much nicer picture than what he has behind him in the sim. I'm sure he's not too fond of all the pressure from behind, but there we go. He's nice and early on the brakes on turn 1. He's not being pressured into a mistake here. And the nice thing is, especially with these GT cars, these closed-wheeled cars that have bumpers, and you know they can knock around each other a little bit. You can park your car on the apex of a turn and have a bump up the back, and it's not really going to hurt you. You know, the driver behind, it's their job really to try and find a way by. It's not like if you're racing an open wheel car around here. I always feel much more intimidated racing an open wheel car around here, because if they give me a little bump up the back, things get a little bit uglier.
Let's go back to Nick, because he seems to be the one most likely to give us some fun here, with him having overtaken Guillaume recently. Next up is Charles Sumner in front of him, and Charles gets on the radio, tells him to go to the right, so I think he's going to let him have this one. And that was a big lift, so the Porsche falls back to 13th, now to 12th for Nick. He's got 3.5 more seconds to get up to Alexander, who we were watching earlier.
Obviously, with the fact that these drivers could, in theory, make it to the end without pitting, that means the pit window is pretty much open at any time for these drivers as they run into traffic. But we saw a few drivers in the pro race last night pit early, and things didn't work out well for them in the long run. It's too much fuel for... You know, if you pit early, you never really have a light fuel load until the end of the race. It just cost them a lot in the long run, and the drivers who did the splash and dash at the end of the race, they got off a lot better.
Yeah, just it looked like it was going to, as a little mistake there from Lewis, who is in the Gulf livery in that McLaren. And Morales gonna try and undercut him, doesn't need to. A big spin from Lewis into the wall.
Traffic coming. Neil Alexander gets around, and I think Lewis knew there was traffic coming. That's why he kind of did a very hasty U-turn there. And obviously, this is an instance where you probably want to take an early stop and get some of that damage repaired.
Here we go again.
He goes again.
And he's going to have some space, I think, to get backed up. Yep, there he goes. Yeah, I think one of the problems is that he maybe didn't have time to turn the traction control off on the car and tried to whip it around, and the car didn't want to do that in such a tight space. Let's go back to McLaughlin. Oh my goodness, he's already caught Alexander, and he's right there looking to the inside. It looks like Neil's not going to fight this either. So the good news for Nick is that his reputation precedes him, and not many really have much interest in trying to fight that, knowing their battle is with others nearer to them in the championship.
Yeah, the good news and the bad news for Nick now, for Neil rather, is for Nick, is that he has clear track. That's good news because he can click off some fast lap times. That's bad news because it's going to be a long time until he makes another position from Morales up there in 9th place.
Well, by that point, it might be getting close to the halfway point, so even if it's not a super early stop, I wonder if that's a good time for him to just duck into pit lane anyways if he's going to have to pass some cars. Up at the front, though, Liberante has basically been controlling this thing. He's got 4.5 seconds over the 87 of Trepanier. Vincent was a little higher up the point standings earlier on in the season, but is yet to take a victory. And it's not looking likely today unless something happens to race. Even still, he's positioned himself well that he can pick up the pieces if need be, because it is easy to make mistakes around here.
It is easy to make mistakes around here. Honestly, it's easy to make mistakes around any racing track. Ones at Long Beach, obviously, are just a bit more consequential because you've got walls around, and even if you manage to avoid the walls, you end up in the runoff areas, and we've seen a few drivers fall into those early on here. So Vince Trepanier can still see race in front of him, but he's 4.5 seconds up the road. Pretty decent gap over John Antonio, so you won't be too intimidated by him right now. Really, 4th on back is where the drivers could definitely get mixed up during the round of pit stops.
Yeah, the closest is about 11th, with Alexander now having Charles Sumner getting close, Ward, as well as Brett Accord in there. So I'm not sure if Neil is struggling a little bit. He is one of our hardest chargers. We mentioned it earlier. He had gained 4 spots. It's now up to 6 positions because he's sitting in 11th, and I'm surprised he's faster than the very dented Charles Sumner, whose nose is definitely not factory spec right now.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be bugging him too much. He might be losing a bit of top-end speed down here on the main straight. He's getting a nice draft off of Neil Alexander here, though, which is helping him out. Oh, a little wide off the apex into the wall.
That unfortunately forces Ward to have to go offline in avoidance, so he can't take advantage of it. They all fall back from Alexander and have to regain that time. That was incredibly lucky from Charles. If he hit any harder, that could have been some suspension damage, but I think he just brushed it.
Yeah, he just brushed it. He also kind of sideswiped it, so I don't think he dented anything important. But with a dent on the front of his car, and now whatever damage he got as a result of that sideswipe, I don't think he wants to be doing too much more of that.
I wouldn't think so. You can only get away with that so many times around here. And they come down into the braking for Firestone turn once again, deep into the corner from Sumner. I wonder if he's abusing those tires a little bit much and is finding they do not have the grip under braking like he thought.
I think there was a bit of contact there between Ward and Cord. There was definitely some tire smoke coming from the rear tires of Ward on the exit there, so if he didn't get a little tap, he lit his rear tires up. Let's see if Accord tries to make anything happen down here into the braking zone. Doesn't look like it. And this time, is everyone going to get through it cleanly? Yes, they are.
But still, they're starting to spread apart. Before, they were all nose to tail. And now Alexander and Sumner get themselves some breathing space. Awful close on the exit of 4 there. Oh, and even closer for Ward as he finds the tires coming out of turn 5. And that was a solid thunk.
Yeah, that's definitely not the kind of impact you want to have. Now, if his handling's not too messed up, he doesn't have any pressure from behind here, so he may decide to keep running and do his pit stop later on in the race, but obviously if we see him coming to the pits at the end of this, it's a telltale sign that that did a fair amount of damage.
And watching, we've got the camera still on him here, so let's see if that BMW garnered enough that it merits pitting at just about the halfway point. As it comes down to the hairpin, the entry is right after this, so we'll know pretty quickly And no, he will not. He'll stay out and just try and run with whatever has happened to that car. Ooh, Sumner's catching Alexander again. In fact, Sumner's going to go on the attack as he ducks to the inside in the orange car, the red machine, trying to defend the long way around and doing so successfully.
Yeah, I can imagine Sumner would have been a little bit cautious on the brakes, given the fact he grazed the wall there a couple of laps ago. He's really hasn't hit the apex on the last couple of turns, though, and that's allowed Alexander to open the gap up a little bit. But this battle is definitely on between three Porsches, red at the front, yellow at the back, and red and yellow make orange in the middle. And that's Alexander in the red, leading Sumner in the orange, and Accord in the yellow.
Down the back stretch once again, under the bridges, and working their way towards one of the few good places to try and overtake, but nobody's close enough to one another. Ooh, very early braking for Alexander compared to Sumner. He gained a ton of time right there. So Charles clearly still trying to take it deep into some of these turns as they come off the hairpin, once again getting wide, and Sumner actually brushing the wall for a third time.
Yeah, well, brushing the wall is fine. It's when you really knock it down that's a problem. I learned at my first... Well, I'll hold on to that thought because Sumner's about to make another attempt here into the braking zone for turn one. He's lost it on the brakes and gives Alexander a tap, and Alexander has to stop his car to stay off a wall. And that was Sumner's mistake. He was changing lanes under braking. I think locked up his rear brakes, lost control of the car, gave Alexander just a little tap, and that meant Alexander had to stop his car or else he was going into that Acura barrier.
Oof. Well, Huard and Glover both got a spot. Accord did two spots, all of them each. And Brett now up to 11th again for that. No, not again, actually. I was thinking of this man on screen, Alexander, who was up in the 11th spot. So he lost a bunch of those places. Accord actually began from 20th. He's one of our few that did not set a time in qualifying and has done a great job patiently picking his way by car after car. Certainly allowing some of them to make their own mistakes and not have to do a lot of that work himself.
Yeah, and we're over the halfway point of a race now and into the pits.
Oh!
Into the wall.
Well, that is commentator's curse right there. I was just giving him all kinds of praise for such a good race in the 151. Makes a bit of a silly error. Now, why did he pull so shallow there?
Probably trying to get out of a racing line. It's a tricky pit road to get right, but yeah, like you say, if he'd taken kind of a wider line, he would have had better odds of making that.
Well, that was going to be our first scheduled stop, but I have to imagine he's going to have to make some repairs because of that. Baron Hilton is also in. So a couple drivers pitting here with less than 20 minutes to go. We go back to Sumner. After his little altercation with Alexander, he's now having to defend on Matthew Aubrey. Actually, did he just overtake Aubrey? I wonder, because I think Aubrey was one of those that passed him.
Yeah, side by side again, Alexander and Sumner. Now, Sumner, I think out of courtesy, he let Alexander get going again out of turn one before he did. But now here he is passing him the hard way around the outside down the back straight. And Alexander yields the position. Like I say, they got a lot of pressure from behind. So these two have really been in the thick of the action most of this race.
Absolutely. And Alexander is currently trying to fend off Aubrey as well as, well, not Bochelle anymore. You saw him duck in the background. So the 187. The next one out to try and take a scheduled stop. Wonder if he could jump any of these three. Last time we saw cars go as late as what, about 7 minutes left to go on the clock for a scheduled stop. So this is a wide open window. Technically could see drivers trying to go to the end, but I haven't seen sign of anybody really going too slow here today.
No, we have the battle for ninth shaping up, and Nick McLaughlin has finally caught Rodrigo Morales.
It's getting close to to where he started this race as well. If he gets into 9th, he began in 5th. So only a few more positions up for him as we watch McLaughlin take it around the hairpin. And well, I thought he was going to get a spot, but no, that was not a pitting maneuver for Morales. Instead, he's trying to break the slipstream. You see him reel him in, watching the intense face here of 3rd in the points. He's going to be able to look to the inside, cleanly outbrakes him, and that is now position 9 for Nick McLaughlin.
Yeah, I mean, it's racing, but at the same time, I was a little surprised Rodrigo was trying to break a draft there. I have a feeling that Nick McLaughlin was catching him enough that the pass was inevitable, but still a nice pass, and Rodrigo has only lost 1 position without losing too much time.
So, as they continue to fight up here, they also fight between Sumner and Alexander. He's not dropping off as quickly as I thought, considering how fast he was run down by the 98. 16 minutes left to go. Neil's kind of the one I wonder if maybe he's fuel saving because he seemed a little off pace compared to those, but maybe it was just how many positions he climbed at the start. It's really hard to tell with this group compared to what we saw with Ferguson, who was really sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, and the other surprising thing about Ferguson's race was how much fuel he had on board that car. I think he still had a little bit after the race finished. The battle for 16th between Bochelle and Decord is still going on, and they have lap cars behind them, so...
No, it's not, because Decord just lifted to let them through, unfortunately. So he was willing to sacrifice his race a little bit and let them go, as this is Sumner being chased by Aubrey, but Alexander is in. So we go to Zanadakis, who continues around in 6th place, but Neil Alexander takes a stop. He was up from 17th. Can he make anything with this strategy call? And about 15 minutes left to go.
Yeah, a lot of drivers further down the order opting to pit early. None of our leaders have came in yet, though. The nice thing about being a leader, of course, you don't have too much traffic, so they just want to keep staying out there and log in laps until their fuel, let their fuel loads get light, until eventually they'll have to top off with a splash of fuel, hopefully only be in the pits for a few seconds, and come back out and finish this race off with a light fuel load too.
We're down to 14.
Oh, we got a spin. It's in from 5th place.
Oh,
it's fun.
No. And it's in turn 1. It's a tricky place, very blind for those drivers behind. Just about getting it straightened. Clearly frustration coming out the mouth of 239. And Kwoknin is going to get it going, but let's see what put him in that position here with the replay.
Oh, he had traffic. Maybe he didn't anticipate the lapped car still being there. Did a nice job to pull off a racing line before the oncoming traffic came. That was Jardines, I think, actually hits the wall while trying to avoid him.
Oh, and that was the exiting Alexander. So that's what threw him off. He wasn't sure how quickly he's going to approach him, and that is a scary thing. Those cars are not fully up to pace, and they have to take an awkward line, so... And let's see what happened with Desjardins.
I think he was caught off guard, maybe, by the car on the exit. He definitely hits the wall. Oh, do things get worse for him, though, going through the fountain? Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if the car is handling weird there or what, but it was a pretty hard hit. He's still sitting in 7th place, and he's dealing with more traffic exiting out. Oh, and he hits it even harder this time. Brett Accord has to check up so that he doesn't take more damage. He's already suffering from his pit entry. And Matthew Aubrey comes out of the pits wondering what is going on with this group.
Yeah, I think this might be a bit of a rhythm thing. He knocked the wall down once, and even if it hasn't damaged the car, it's gotten him a little bit shaken right now. He's having difficulty hitting his marks, and that's a lapped car behind him, so he doesn't really want to let that guy by. But right now, his he needs to get things gathered together here, just calm down a little bit. The problem is you don't really get to take a breather around here. Sometimes it can be hard to calm down.
Yeah, these drivers have very little long straights to try and relax and get their wits about them. Highest bidder is still Neil Alexander in that 14th position. They're waiting for a good chunk of the field to come in and take fuel. Should be a very short splash and go, though, for most of our drivers. And at the front of this, I can't believe that Desjardins, after those 2 heavy hits, is still leading this group and hasn't given up the spot.
Yeah, but Nick McLaughlin saw what was going on in front of him. He saw all that traffic and realized, all right, this is my ideal time to pit and try and get out of all of this. So McLaughlin is into the pits.
It's a long pit lane here as well, so the drivers have to wait patiently to get to their stall. Then they have to take their fuel, which McLaughlin just finished. And Kwok Nin.
Yeah, they just had to pass here, yeah. Oh, and Nin spun again. So Nin's car, after his spin a little while ago, he's struggling a little bit. He lost a position and then just had another moment.
Just a clean pass here for the Merc. It looks like, yes, just able to slide on through. What happened? So we're not going to watch that one. As McLaughlin is back out and ahead of Alexander by a big, big margin. So the 62 returns in 13th. So how high does he jump from here? And when will we see the rest of the field start to come in? Actually, McLaughlin is not that far ahead of our race leader. He's got maybe about 10 seconds between himself and the 34. So he nearly went a lap down with that pit stop.
Yeah, the nice thing, obviously, though, is McLaughlin has a decent amount of pace, and it's not exactly like Lebrante has a tyre or advantage or anything over him, so he shouldn't have to worry about being lapped as we enter the final 10 minutes of this race.
Indeed, we've got race on our screens. Let's see if he elects to pit in this time, or does he want to take it a bit longer than this? Out of the hairpin. And he's going to stay out. He's not free of damage, though. It looks like he's got a few scrapes on the nose of that car. Oh, and Kwok Nin is around again, this time at turn 5. That was close to where he had it before. It was at turn 4. I'm not sure what's going on with this Porsche, but it doesn't seem to be handling to his liking.
Well, let's see. This is a couple of turns before. Looks like he was carrying too much speed through there. And maybe a bit too much rear brake there, a bit too hard on the brakes. It looked like he lost it on entry. I think he's just overdriving. It might be a bit angry. But I don't know. Maybe he does have some kind of damage that I'm not aware of that's throwing his handling off, but it just seems like the mistakes are compounding as he goes late into this race. And now he's going to come in. He won't take tyres or anything, of course, in this short of a race, but could give him a chance to take a breather, collect his bearings, go back out there, and hopefully we've seen his last spin and he can have a clean race to the end, maybe get a position or two back.
Yeah, this will certainly help his tires cool down, as it looks like Charlie Sumner is also going to be pitting this lap. Nick McLaughlin waiting for all those in front of him to duck out of the way and into pit lane, as Trepanier is going to be our next one in, and Antonino joins him. Cervantes is in, so it looks like we're hitting the end of that pit window. Wonder if Sanadakis is going to be our next one. There you see the BMW coming to his stall, and yes, Sanadakis now pits. So does Demers. The only one who is not pitted is Race Liberante, who seems to be very good on sipping fuel.
Yeah, well, there's probably one nice advantage of him opening up a lead that he did in the opening laps is he might have been coasting the past few laps trying to save a little bit of fuel. So that battle for second, third and fourth, let's see which of those drivers has a better stops. Maybe they're close enough, maybe there'll be a change for position there.
be. And Race Liberante, who's going to continue on around. Oh, and Morales is in his pit stop. I thought he had an incident. And time and scoring going to 0 miles per hour because he needs to take his service. Race is in cleanly. Trepanier a long ways back during his pit stop. So I doubt we'll see him through.
Yeah, but he held his position ahead of Antonio and the rest of his competition. So he should be able to walk home this second place here.
And behind him, I think that is a battle for position. Yeah, Ward and Aubrey have been really going at it now. That is for 14th on the track.
Three-way battle, actually.
Yeah,
the third car is, yeah.
So coming onto the front stretch, and man, trying to duck underneath him in the hairpin. Ward is getting a little desperate. That's about the third move I've seen him make in one lap. This is where he wants to make those moves, or traditionally he would, but now he's too far back.
Yeah, now here's a problem for John Antonio in third place. You've got these three drivers racing for position here in the 6 minutes left to go in this race. This might get quite dicey, and if it does, I wonder if John Antonio will get held up. He's 6 seconds ahead of Cervantes, but that could disappear in a hurry if, you know, things get a little ugly like that.
Going side by side once again, defending as Ward holds him off, and Aubrey falls down to 15th. Guillaume is going to get at least one more, but Alexander is a ways up the road. For those wondering about McLaughlin and his recovery drive after his pit stop, he's in 7th, but he's got 4.5 seconds to get up the Demers. Unfortunately, Alexis is ahead of him in the points, so with that big of a gap and only 5 minutes to go, looks like he is going to drop points on both Liberante and Demers today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see him catching Demers here in the closing moments of this race. So no one's opted to do the no stopper then. It looks like everyone decided to come in for a pit stop, take a safe strategy here. John Antonio is working his way through that lap traffic in third place.
There's Liberante on your screen, certainly taking it right up to the edge around some of these corners. 6-second gap over Trepanier. Next one that he's looking to lap is Sumner in the 11th position. So he's lapped almost the half the field, actually literally half the field, I think, at this point, and he is using every little bit that he can, even though he's got a bit of a buffer to the car behind. You can actually see Trepanier behind him down the road in that 87 along the backstretch.
Coming across the line with less than 4 minutes left on the clock. Probably looking at about 3 or 4 laps left to go. My guess would be 3 laps left to go, actually. The battle for 15th is still one of the better ones on track between Matt Aubrey and Charles Purcell. And they're actually not too far behind the Liberante on track here, working their way down the front straight now.
Yeah, they've been lapped some laps ago, and with Aubrey trying to keep himself in that 16th or 15th position.
Ward went very wide in turn 1 ahead of him. So Ward made a bit of a rookie error there, I think. He was letting the lead lap car of John Antonio by, but he didn't back off on the straight. He waited until the turn to do it, and that's not the way to do it. That costs you a lot more time.
And he's still at least out of reach from Aubrey, though. So even though he lost some time, he's not going to be under attack the way things sit right now. Aubrey's, if anything, more focused behind with the Audi 187 car. Ooh, looking off to the side. Not sure if that was trying to catch the car or just trying to show himself in the mirrors for the 95. Whatever the case, they're all going to break in a line. Oh, deep once again from Huard, and he could lose a position if he keeps doing that.
Yeah, we're about to have a four-way battle from 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th now that John Antonio has gone by. But the problem is, Danny Cervantes is now behind these guys. So are any of them going to back off and let Danny by, or are they going to go for broke now? Because, I mean, Danny might get on the radio and say, hey, guys, race it out. He's got 13 seconds of clear air behind him. But we'll see how this ends up.
Riding on board with Cervantes, is taken to the road series quite well. Clearly today the street course is suiting him, so when the PRL Oval Series go to Chicago, I have to imagine he'll probably be one to watch out for. Certainly hope he doesn't interrupt this fight. It is getting intense up there. Neil Alexander has now been caught, but is he going to be overtaken? He's playing defense, and down to the inside of Aubrey Bochelle tries to dive it in, but the Audi doesn't have the exit that he wants, and now Cervantes really's got to think about it, as here we go, an attack by Huard on Alexander into turn 9 is gonna stick and give him 13th place.
And the final lap is starting as Liberante crosses the line with 1 minute left on the clock. Honestly, if I was Cervantes, he gets into the back, I think, of a lap car there. I'd almost be tempted to back off a second or two. He's got no pressure from behind. Give himself a little bit of room in case there is an incident. He can find a way by, but looks like at least one lap car is going to let him by.
Yep, they saw the blue flags. They're not required to move over. They're informational. Drivers do. Oh, that lap car nearly, I think that was Bochelle having a close moment with the barriers on the exit. But the lap cars do have to behave. They can't really defend their line. They've got to try to let them by at the best opportunity, essentially. Liberante, just 3 more corners to go here to take his 4th win of the season, extend his points lead. And after this, they're only going to have 2 rounds, and he's going to have close to a full race win's worth over the nearest driver. Victory number 4 comes in California for Race Liberante here in the Precision Racing League GT3 Amateur Series.
Yeah, nice job by Race. Vincent will get second.
Cervantes wrecked. Or no, sorry, car that looks similar to him. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, but here we go. The battle for position coming through the hairpin. Looks like Gilhelm Hard is going to win that battle that we've been watching throughout the second half of the race and take 13th place. So well done to the driver for number 399.
Yeah, that was the 98 of Sumner who bended in the last corner. If we could get a replay of him, he lost multiple positions just by finding himself taken a little too hard into the last turn. We'll need to back up just a little more here. There was across the line. Yeah, here comes the incident on that one.
Yeah, and he lost 1 position from it. So you'll see he's just... We mentioned earlier, you want to be on the left-hand side of a track there. Otherwise, you're never going to make a hairpin from the right-hand side of the track. And that yellow car going by him was Brett Accord, who went home to finish 11th place. Sumner did lose a position there.
But that is going to end our race, but not the broadcast. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Long Beach. Round 8 here of the Precision Racing League GT3 AM Series went to Race Liberante with Vincent Trepanier following him home 10 seconds adrift. Antonino rounded out the podium in third, with Cervantes doing quite well, but unfortunately losing a spot from where he qualified. It was P4. Zanadakis was fifth, with Demers second in the championship, falling down a little farther away from Liberante. He was eighth in the end. Nick McLaughlin, unfortunately, a critical error early in the race could have cost him what could have potentially been a podium. He had a great time coming back forward. It looked fun. It just won't give him the best results. He was seventh. Desjardins was eighth as Morales finished ninth and Glover 10th.
Yeah, and those are all the cars on the lead lap. The first car 1 lap down was Brett Accord. He snuck that position away from Charles Sumner in the final corner. Guilherme Hard won that battle that we were watching for the last few laps and finished in 13th place ahead of Neil Alexander, Matthew Aubrey and Charles Bichelle. Baron Hilton, I think his race went downhill a little bit early on. He comes home in 17th place ahead of Chet Miller, who we saw put it in the wall in turn 1, ranked 18th at the end. Nin, we saw him come in for his pit stop after a couple of spins. He didn't come back out. Todd Lewis also multiple laps down, as well as Mark Kalin, and no start for Parker Moorhead.
And that brings us to Liberante, our winner here today. Race, congratulations. Looked like you really controlled that one, though. Nobody to really challenge you all throughout.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit of luck and a lot of practice. I love street racing so much. So I've really felt at home all week just testing for this one. I was just had a smile on my face the whole time I was driving. It's the one race I probably never looked in my mirror and was just kind of trucking along, doing my own thing, trying to keep the mistakes to a minimum. And however it was going to kind of fold out, it was going to fold out.
Well, it folded out pretty well for you because you came in with a 21-point lead, and your main rivals, Demers and McLaughlin, both finished no higher than 6th and 7th. It's going to put you in a pretty good position come the final 2 rounds. Does that change how you're going to race in those last 2, or are you not changing your approach at all?
Not at all. We're here to win, so we're going to keep trucking, keep working, and try and cap off the season with as many wins as possible, and the championship's just going to be a bonus at the end of the day. I mean, we are focused a lot on the team championship. My 10-year-old teammate, John Antonino, got it done in P3 tonight, so huge step for us forward for a team championship. We've all kind of had our fair share of bad luck, so that's kind of the only focus shift we've had, is working more as a team, trying to, get each other faster, so that way we can come home with hopefully a drivers and a constructors team championship.
This is a track that's known for kind of a short lap length and traffic being difficult, but you're going to go one harder off the summit points. Are you at all concerned about things that could happen with a decent-sized field at such a tiny track?
We didn't have any problems this time. I only think I passed 1 or 2 guys lapping anybody. Just pit strategy was so different here, and I think Summit Point's a little bit like that too. So not too worried about it. I mean, most of these guys have a lot of respect when you are getting around them, as well as, even just giving yourself a gap in qualifying. Me and Antonino gave ourselves a massive gap on the pack in front of us and just kind of held the whole lineup in the pits, but did what we had to do to kind of get up there for the race, and it unfolded well for both of us. So no, I'm not too worried about Summit Point. I enjoy the track. I think the competition's going to be close, and the BMW is going to be pretty good there.
Well, we look forward to it. Anybody you want to give a shout out to for this win?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank all of you guys at the GSRC, everybody and the sponsors at PRL for putting this on, my whole team at Delta Sport, and all of our associate sponsors, INSL, Unified for Kids, Move Up Lynchburg, Freem, Driven Texas, Race Factory, and Get Stuck Apparel.
That was our Victor Race Liberante. Up next, I believe Sam has our 3rd place finisher, John Antonino.
Yeah, congrats on a good podium finish here today, John. Well done.
Thank you.
I saw you were right up to speed right off the get-go. You made that move in the hairpin for 3rd place at the end of lap number 1. Had you kind of planned to make your move there? Because a lot of drivers normally don't try and pass there.
The gap, and I said, well, why not? Because I don't want to be held back for the whole race, so I just went for it. And I didn't know, I thought I would clear him in through that corner, but I didn't, so we battled through the next 3 last corners.
Yeah, no, it was a very good move. I was surprised you were able to pull it off. So congratulations on that. How are you feeling about this third place? I've got to imagine it became a bit of a boring race in the middle. Were you ever thinking about catching Vincent for second?
Because I didn't think I could have gotten there because of my consistency. And I just try to focus on staying in the position where I didn't like wreck or anything, and just stay there.
Well, that's probably a smart thing to do. A nice third place finish, John. Congrats once again. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank Delta Sport, Race Factory, Move Up Lunchburg, Extreme Sims, Driven Texas, Frame USA, PRL Series, and you guys.
All right, well, we appreciate that. Congrats again to John Antonino, your third place finisher here today, Joe.
And after that, we've got Nick McLaughlin, who finished 7th, but started a little higher than that. Nick, let's start with that unfortunate incident in the second lap. You found yourself fighting side by side, and you bailed out of the corner. But what made you decide to bail? Because we thought that maybe you could have made it if you tried to keep going. Was it just kind of those split decision sort of things?
Hey guys, yeah, I came in a little hotter than I expected to, and in hindsight, watching it back again, I had plenty of room to make the corner. I'm not sure if I looked in the mirror and saw a pile of headlights coming in. I was like, I'm just gonna peel off the racing line, but honestly, it was probably one of the most fun races I've had this season, coming from the back. It was a blast.
It's funny you should say that, because we even mentioned, figured you probably had fun racing, but your championship didn't have that much fun with it. You already had a horrible points haul back in Austria, and now you lost yet more points to Liberante. Do you feel like this gap is overcomable in the final 2 rounds of this championship?
It would take a mistake from Race, and given his consistency and pace that he brings week after week, he's got a pretty good resume backing him of professional driving. So I don't see it happening, but I'll keep my hopes up. Well, anything can happen.
I like that never say die attitude. Summit Point next week. It's a track many iRacers have raced many times. Do you feel like you should do well there?
I'm hoping to do better there than here. There's less walls. This track scares the heck out of me. So
this is true. Well, we'll cross our fingers for you that you don't find any walls there. So congratulations, at least on the top 10. Anybody you want to give a mention to?
I'm going to give a shout out to Maxime Tilly. We worked together for a setup for the Ferrari this week, and it felt really rapid, especially on the straights. I think I was running a lot lower wing than most of these guys, and kind of felt like I was in a different class on the straightaways.
Great stuff. That was 7th place finisher Nick McLaughlin, and that's going to wrap up our interview. So we want to give a thank you to our sponsors for the series, ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Sean, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we said, in a week's time, it's off to Summit Point, West Virginia on August 17th, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.